Do you realize that Starbucks wanted to take Christ and Christmas off of their brand new cups? That's why they're just plain red. In fact, do you realize that Starbucks isn't allowed to say Merry Christmas to customers? Well, I decided, instead of simply boycotting, well, why don't we just start a movement? So when I went in and I asked for my coffee, they asked for my name, and I told them my name is Merry Christmas. So guess what? Starbucks, I tricked you into putting Merry Christmas on your cup. And I'm challenging all great Americans and Christians around this great nation, go into Starbucks and take your own coffee selfie. And then I challenge you to not only share this video so that the word gets out, but let's start a movement. And let's call it, I don't know, the hashtag Merry Christmas Starbucks.
So originally I planned on reviewing Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas along with this movie that follows, but after the exhaustion from the Star Wars special and the fact that everyone is reviewing it now, I decided to just do this one. So, without further ado, Last Ounce of Courage is literally the worst movie I think I've ever seen in my goddamn life. No, really. Out of the 20-some reviews that I've done since, and even including God's Not Dead, I have never seen a worse movie than this one. This movie exists for two simple reasons: to demonstrate poorly how the war on Christmas is totally a real thing, and to shove as much America fuck yeah imagery into it as possible. And it's the schlockiest, most incomprehensible bullshit to ever call itself a Christmas movie. Yes, somehow, this is a Christmas movie, despite the apparent lack of anything really all that Christmassy until very late into the film, but oh boy, does this movie deliver on the stupid Christian shit. Where a movie like God's Not Dead is at least somewhat, a movie, this entire thing plays like an Onion article that was just turned into a feature film. Except this was a serious attempt. So right off the bat, this movie hits you over the head with its own fucking incompetence. The first frame of the movie is a quote from Ronald Reagan, except the text on screen becomes completely useless because they actually play the audio source of the speech in which Reagan said the lines on screen.
Then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
When you're gonna do a quote, it's gotta be one or the other, guys, okay? Either the filmmakers think the audience is too lazy to read the whole thing, or they think that we're too distracted to listen to it. Look, this isn't a news report. We don't need to read the words as they're spoken to be absolutely sure that it's verbatim what Ronald Reagan said. This is a movie, supposedly where things happen in a story and not a documentary where we gotta fact check you. And how many other movies do you know open with a quote this long? That's probably why they decided to go with this awkward sound clip / text overlay bullshit. Most movies will have a quick excerpt from the Bible or a dictionary definition of something or something that's sort of deep that fits with the theme or message of the movie. It's short and it's simple and doesn't take very long. But this movie's just no, you know what? There you go. Fucking paragraph. Read it. No, don't read it. We'll have Ronald read it. It's good. Then almost immediately after that, we're treated to this tonal shift with this emotional and character-driven segment about some of the main characters' backstory. It's this sweeping, heartfelt, tender love scene thing that's framed as a home video footage from a wedding. I'm assuming that these two characters are getting married right out of high school because in this scene he's wearing a Letterman jacket, and then we cut to them getting married immediately after. And no one in their right mind wears their Letterman jacket outside of high school, except for douchebags. And we're gonna assume that the character isn't a douchebag, so they probably got married young. And then the tone just shifts again, in the matter of 20 seconds, as we smash cut to the film's title with this militaristic drumline and chorus song just playing. This movie is all over the fucking place in terms of tone. This guy here, Miles Hannon, if that's even your real name. Yeah, I don't know if this guy is still getting work or not, but the editing choices in this movie are so poor and they're reflected as soon as we start the film that I really hope he isn't. We're introduced to our main character, aptly and creatively named Bob, as he rides down the highway on his chopper in his leather jacket, toting an obnoxious as fuck American flag behind him so that we can wave it triumphantly in the wind. He, of course, wears no helmet because brain damage is for sissies and real men take their concussions without flinching. Is that red supposed to symbolize something? Is he just wearing red because that's the conservative color? He's a red-blooded All-American? Am I the only one getting Santa Claus vibes from this whole thing? Whatever, maybe that's just me trying to desperately make this more of an enjoyable Christmas movie. Yeah, just throw Tim Allen in there, I'm sure we could come up with something. So as per usual with shitty Christian movies and terribly written movies in general, we start with a voiceover where our main character talks about freedom and war and fighting and shit.
You know, I always saw myself as a patriot. I don't remember anyone telling me that freedom had to be fought for and defended.
Okay, so they did get married right out of high school then. Alright, well, yeah, that definitely feels like an all-American relationship. Marry someone you barely knew in their developmental years, and then try to raise a family at the tender age of 20. Though I'm pretty sure the only reason they're such a young couple is so that when we flash forward 14 years later, it won't seem so weird that no one really aged all that much. It's more of a plot convenience than anything. So, yeah, if it wasn't implied by this line,
You just come back.
along with that fucking Medal of Honor chorus line, the dude dies pretty early on in the movie. But the stupidest plot point ever happens, and it gets set up right here. Right before he leaves, his wife grabs the probably expensive camera that her mother-in-law was using to videotape his goodbye and gives it to her husband as he leaves for war. Anyone would say, yes, that's very stupid, but just keep it in mind. Remember this, because it comes up later, and trust me when I say, you're gonna shit yourself when you finally figure out why it is we have this camera, but we'll get into that later. So the rest of the time he spends expositionally in the military, leading up to his exposition death scene, so the exposition of our characters as they spout expositional dialogue helps give us some exposition through a montage. Exposition. Oh, also, for some reason, right here in the movie where the dude is relaying messages between himself and his wife through the mail, they do the usual voiceover trope effect as we hear their words from their letters being spoken aloud. Surprisingly, we don't see a long shot of the letter to accompany the audio. It seems as if, though, the filmmaker suddenly decided to trust us a little more this time. And right here is where you can notice this glaring inconsistency in the production design. It's a small detail, and it never takes place like this in the film again, but for this one scene, the audio sounds like it was recorded on someone's iPhone.
The doctor says the next few weeks will fly by before the baby's born. Easy for him to say. I love you, Thomas. I miss you so much. I long to feel you next to me.
Now, given that this only happens once in the movie, you might be quick to say it's excusable, as it doesn't happen again during a time where the sudden change in audio would, be demeaning to the production. And to that I say true, but I also think about it in another way. The people making this movie did either one of two things. One, they somehow forgot to get a take of her reading her letter to play during this scene, and they only figured it out after they returned all of their rented sound equipment, so they just recorded it, literally phoning it in, and figured no one would notice. Or two, they recorded that line of audio, in the very beginning, and didn't notice the settings they had were getting them really shitty quality, but instead of re-recording it, they, again, decided no one would notice, and left it as it was, with the rest of the audio sounding professional. Either way, it highlights both the budgetary reasons as well as the amateurish production quality this movie suffers from, and is in just 20 seconds of screen time gives us the perfect inferable metaphor for how terrible the following thing is going to be within just the first 5 minutes. Yes, that's right. I've said all of this. I've been talking for 8 minutes, and it's only 5 minutes into the film. So basically the point of all this is that the guy died. I don't know why we needed to devote 10 minutes to something we could have just waved away in a single sentence. Their son Thomas dies. His wife and their grandson moved away. He was hung up about it. Now it's been 14 years and we're starting with a basically brand new story. That entire opening scene was literally there just to try and manipulate the audience into feeling something, when really plot-wise it could have just been summed up with the not wasted all of our time. It feels like it was trying to be those first 10 minutes of Up, except where Pixar had talented screenwriters who were actually able to craft genuine emotion and storytelling into something that's, by the way, actually only technically 4 minutes. They also do it without even having a character say a word, and they convey the entire exposition through visuals alone. An animated scene that was intended for a young audience has more depth and real sadness in its 4-minute silent opening than this entire live-action film made for adults had with what was structurally the same idea done in 10 minutes. They took more time and did less stuff. So, anyway, another tonal shift as now it's 14 years later and we're blasted with this cheesy as hell rock and roll track.
Playing on it, won't you get on the ride? Won't you get on the ride?
And also, for some reason, these bits of comedy, as Bob is a pharmacist who treats the wounds of biker gangs who would rather not go to the hospital for you know, reasons that seem to be a little less than legal. Anyway, oh God, really? That's the son now? Well, he certainly looks the part of a 14-year-old who grew up in L.A. Really? Really? No, I'm sorry, really? He wouldn't know how to shake a hand? Is this really what you think, like, kids are like? Is this how you think that the youth of today operates? Because, I mean, he never does this again. He never does a handshake again. Like, no one ever comes up to him and says, hey, you want to shake my hand? And he does this little weird thing. Like, you literally put this in there just to be like, yeah, young kids are weird. What? Fuck you, movie. Okay, so anyway, what's this shit? I thought this was a Christmas movie, not a Thanksgiving movie. They're clearly playing an instrumental piano version of Hark the Herald's Angels Sing, you know, the fucking Christmas song, as their background music. Quit cock-teasing me, movie! I want to see Santa! Or magic, or hell, even Christmas miracles. I don't believe in them, but hey, that'd be better than nothing. Give me something to remind me that this is a Christmas time, instead of being 20 minutes in, and it's only Thanksgiving!
Grouse isn't there anymore.
Can you imagine? It offended somebody.
Okay, yeah. But seriously, though? Like, that line, like, could you imagine if instead of a cross or whatever, it had been a mosque that they put up? Do you really think a big old moon and star hanging in this conservative small town's main street would just have gone over so well? It's only freedom of religion when it applies to you, am I right? Okay, so get this. Bob is also the mayor. And if that doesn't floor you enough, the movie does it for you when we smash cut yet again to another terrible tone change when the piano music just decides to stop playing, not when the previous scene was over, but in the middle of the next one, right as soon as the kid just walks in on Bob on the phone.
Hey, weekend, but I figured you'd want to know. The feds approved the funds.
You're kidding me.
And we'll get that new addition for the veterans home.
Outstanding.
All right, man. Bye.
Like, see, this is an establishing shot. See, that we're like helicoptering over the church or whatever to let us know that a new scene is taking place and that's maybe some time has passed. Except you'll notice that the music is still playing from the previous scene. That's fine. You can do that. You can continue. You can keep playing the music all throughout the rest of the scene. But what you shouldn't do is just end the music abruptly and just fucking cut it out. Just stop playing it. Like in the middle of the scene. This is so poorly edited. This feels like a third grader did it. All right, you know what? I'm gonna stop pointing these things out. Otherwise, we'd be here till New Year's. Okay, but just remember that these things keep happening. Okay, hey, wait. Another question. If this guy was 20 when he went off to war and died, but the camera they were using was an old mini VHS one, and this is 14 years after that, yet we're watching tapes from the same camera that depict Thomas when he was like the same age as his son is now. Right? Okay? So, assuming this takes place in 2012 when the film was released, as far as my research goes, the exact mini VHS camera that they're seen using wasn't available to consumers in 1998 when he left for war, and it certainly wasn't available in 1992 when he would have been a kid during these Christmas scenes. Even if they could have somehow obtained that camera at that time, the tapes themselves were not available commercially until as late as 1995. 1995! Yet somehow we're witnessing something that happened in 1992 or earlier. So why not just use a normal VHS-style camera that everyone at the time would have had? Well, again, keep this little tidbit in the back of your mind too, because I will explain it at the end. Jesus. Am I really only 15 minutes in? I gotta start paraphrasing. Okay, so anyway, so the grandson starts getting his, like, first indoctrination of, like, Bob and the message of the movie. Somehow people are trying to pass laws to keep people from celebrating Christmas the way they used to. And somehow the laws are also about making Christmas all about Santa Claus and buying things. I thought Kirk Cameron already explained to us why that's totally wrong.
What did you say to him?
Told him to come home. And I told him to defend our freedoms with his last ounce of courage.
No you didn't. That's the exact same shot from the movie earlier you just edited. We know exactly what you said.
Take care of him.
You just come back.
fucking liar. Okay, so anyway, basically the grandson is somehow just finding out about his dad's faith and religion and all that stuff because apparently his mom never told him about any of it. Also, is this like the first time that they've apparently been to his grandparents' house in 14 years? Because he's never seen like this car or the stuff in the crate of his dad's, I guess, you know? Okay, so Christian gets caught with a Bible at school and for some reason he gets sent to the principal's office for that? Like, I'm doing my research. By the way, that's how far I'm taking this review for you guys. And as far as I can tell, outside of a few isolated cases, this very thing has never happened ever. And if it has, it's usually included with a sweeping ban on all religious texts during school hours as to not promote just one religion or religions over another. But for some reason, this movie deals with the issue as if though it's something that's happened all over the country. Luckily, the janitor, of all people, tells them exactly what I just said. There isn't a rule that says what you read on your own time can be confiscated or banned, as it's not really something schools have an authority to do, nor have they ever done it. But then this little brat just up and decides he's had enough of this war on Christmas shit, even though, again, apparently he only started feeling this way for like a few days now. So Bob decides to go over to the town storage and
Why does that bring back some memories?
What kind of memories?
Hey, Charlie.
Charlie.
How you guys? You boys up to no good?
Well, hey, Charlie, I guess you're a character now. Nice audio cut there. So anyway, Bob starts getting out the old Christmas shit from the storage place and plans on putting it up around town. He gives Charlie and his assistant this little speech that's basically the same idea that God's Not Dead was, what to say to someone who dares to believe in the separation of church and state. This is just Christian vindication.
We can have a nativity scene, as long as other religious symbols are acknowledged at the same time.
Okay, great. One question though, Bob, except you never actually once acknowledged the other religious symbols in your movie. Or for that matter, you don't even show a nativity scene on a public building. This is the stupidest defense the movie has because it literally makes mention of the reason for the people who are against being Christmas-centric. Because we believe that other holidays besides Christmas exist. Or for some of us, including myself, we don't even believe in the true meaning behind Christmas. The whole problem anyone has when it comes to trying to secularize the holidays is because it's not just Christmas that exists. Even this movie brings it up and then never acts on it because otherwise it would require showing the other religious symbols, which, oh boy, they're not in my movie. We don't want to show them menorahs in my movie. This is a Christmas movie. Fuck you.
Some towns, no red and green lights.
Okay, again, I'm doing research. As far as I can tell, there's only been one instance where this might have happened back in 2007, but the only site that reported it was also selling Christmas defense kits, which were clearly cashing in on the war on Christmas scare market that now exists because of shit like this movie.
Some towns, no trees.
I couldn't back this claim up, and I'm just assuming it's hyperbole.
Some towns, no decorations at all.
Again, I can't find any sources that say this has ever happened in America. It only happened once, but that was in Germany, not the United States. In fact, I even found several sources that debunked the claims made by like Facebook rumors about Christmas decorations being banned from small towns. And then, of course, all we ever see Bob do is put up a cardboard star. I mean, later in the movie he puts up a tree, but for as far as the town decorations go, all we see is this stupid star. Really courageous there, Bob. So anyway, now the real plot finally picks up, as it turns out that the ACLU is apparently very pissed off at Bob for putting up generic secular decorations that my city and every city everywhere puts up during the winter holidays that no one has any problems with.
Well, I'm very tired of not standing up for what I believe in.
Yeah, see, what's funny about this line is that this is a movie about Christmas decorations. Like, when it really comes down to it, the whole premise of the movie is that a mayor of a small town wants to put up Christmas decorations and throws a temper tantrum when he's not allowed to. Like, really, dude. I used this kind of example earlier, but I'll use it here again. During the movie, Bob declares that his whole town will now be known as Christmas Town. But just imagine if he were, like, Jewish, right? And instead decided to dub the town Hanukkah Town. Now, of course, the ACLU would be all over this one just the same, but do you think that the rest of the Christian community would be down with him calling their town Hanukkah Town? with like menorahs on public property and dreidels hanging from street lamps? Could you imagine the uproar from conservative Christians?
Well, if trying to restore a holiday that the majority of our citizens enjoy, but a few old sore heads don't, makes me reckless and insensitive, yeah, I'd say that pretty much describes me.
Okay, yo, see right here, there he says it. This is the logic that the movie operates on. Majority of the citizens celebrate Christmas, but not all of them. Like, think about that, Bob. The rest of us just have to sit by and idly take it as our batshit insane mayor just decides to up and turn our town into Christmasville.
Mr. Mayor, it is our job to protect all people, regardless of their color, creed, race, or religious persuasion. The people of Mount Columbus deserve fair and equal treatment.
Okay, seriously? Is the Hammer supposed to be our villain? Like, how can I hate a guy whose literal threat is that he's here to protect every citizen, no matter who that person is? Like, how can I ever disagree with that statement? Okay, right, so now it's time for some subplots. And about 40 minutes in, we're finally doing something other than Bob's weird Christmas crusade. And, I mean, it's sort of related to the whole thing, but because Bob's not directly involved, it's sort of an independent story. Basically, the kids are all getting together to sabotage their winter play, because they don't like it. They don't like it because it's not a Christmas play. Because how dare we celebrate anything other than Christian kids' holidays during a school function, you know? But anyway, their idea is to hold the whole school hostage. No, literally hostage. As in, lock the doors, keep the curtains from closing, and lock the director in a closet kind of hostages. This is actually getting kind of scary. Okay, the guy from the ACLU has orders to remove the decorations from the courthouse, and Bob almost decks the dude in the face. They have to hold him back from literally almost fighting the guy in a town hall hearing. Like, this is our hero, everybody. This is the guy we're supposed to root for. And he wants to punch a dude just because he doesn't agree with him. Oh, holy shit. I have that hat. And then Bob, sort of, rightfully so, he gets fired as the mayor. He's no longer the mayor. Oh, and later on, they somehow find out, Bob was, supposedly lying about being a war hero. Which, true or not, which eventually later they prove it wasn't true, it really has nothing to do with the rest of the movie and affects the plot in no way, other than now we get to have this teary Vietnam flashback in a Christmas movie. Okay, play some unfitting music. Just look, watch.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That doesn't belong there. This does not belong in a Christmas. Take it out.
I don't know much about Christmas.
Yeah, you don't. Okay, fucking hell. Now there's this shit. All right, Bob decides in a fit of rage. I don't know, heroics. I don't know. Well, whatever it is, he decides to just hoist a fucking 2-ton cross sign onto a roof of a building all by himself with just a rope. This is insane. This is a danger not only to himself, to the town, just to put some stupid symbol on a roof and make some big dumb speech about freedoms being trampled on. God damn it! What the fuck, Christians? Why do you want to be victims so much that you make movies like this?
What are you doing?
It's okay. It's okay. He's doing his job.
You're damn right he should be arrested. He was not only disturbing the peace, but he participated in reckless endangerment just to make a stupid political point. Okay, so that's kind of the conclusion of Bob's story, is that he gets sent to jail and I don't know, he doesn't really learn a lesson at all. But whatever, the kids hijack the play and they force the audience to sit through a nativity story. Which, by the way, is kind of bullshit, you know? I thought the whole idea of religious people presenting their religion stuff was the whole, if you don't like it, don't watch it, right? If you choose to not want to see this stuff, you don't go to the play. That's what they say. They say, oh, you don't like Christian movies? Fine, don't go see them. Okay, cool. Well, how the fuck are we supposed to not go when you fucking sabotage the secular play that we thought we were going to see and turn it into a religious one? This is now forcing me to sit through something I didn't want to see. Oh, and then finally, we get to the biggest asinine ending in the history of dumb Christian movies. Even worse than Professor Radisson getting hit by a car after his redemption arc. I'm gonna let the whole scene play out for you in its entirety, unedited, because let's face it, You aren't going to watch this movie anytime soon, and I'm going to let you witness it the same way I did for the first time in all of its stupidity.
Kari, I love you so much. I want so much to hold you and to be with you. Wow, I miss you. And Christian, I saw your picture. Thank goodness you take after your mom. Well, guys, I just want you to know that I'm fighting for you over here and for our freedom. I do it because I love my country and because I love you. I've been thinking that a lot of guys like us have given their lives in places like this, so we can all enjoy our freedom back at home. Man, we're so blessed. People here can't even celebrate Christmas. You know, they'd be killed if they did. I mean, just keep praying. Pray for our wounded. Please, please. Pray for the families that have lost a loved one over here. Freedom's worth it. We're gonna win this. We gotta win this. Well, God bless you guys. I love you. And Merry Christmas.
Holy fucking shit! What kind of fucking pandering ass bullshit is this cocked up fucking shitfest? And right the fuck after all that shit, they sing Silent Night, bawling their eyes out. Like, watching a man die on screen is somehow a holy experience worthy of being praised the Lord Jesus above. These people just watched a snuff film. There's no beating around the bush here. They are watching a man and his squad fucking die on screen against their will. They did not consent to this, and there was no warning as what was about to happen. Say what you will about trigger warnings and all of that, but when the shit is real, it's fucking real, okay? And we clearly see an active duty soldier in the audience as he stands up and salutes. Way to fucking potentially send that guy into a PTSD-induced flashback and ruin his entire Christmas, you fucks! And then now, we can finally understand my nitpicks about the camera from earlier. My point that I was making was twofold. One, when in the beginning she just hands him the camera, this is clearly a setup so that we could get this video. So yeah, cool, it's great that they took time to explain why this video exists, because boy, it would be stupid if it just came out of nowhere. But they didn't explain why in the fuck a soldier who's on the fucking battlefield would think it was a good idea to stop what he was doing and essentially record a vlog. How come none of the other soldiers are even once saying, "Hey, Thomas, bro, we're kind of pinned down waiting for support. Maybe you could, like, put both of your hands on your gun instead of the camera, you know? Like, I don't know." And secondly, I know why they cheated with the camera and the timeline. It's because they were afraid that the audience would get as confused about what I just said, but only if it were like a big old VHS camera, not like a little small one, so that he could totally take it around with him, more believably so. Like, because it would have been stupid if he had been, like, toting around a big old VHS camera. Those things were big, right? Like, it's still ridiculous. And it's still stupid. And the audience who this is aimed for would even probably stop and say, "Hey, wait a minute. He's not doing his job. I mean, for God's sake. How the hell did he win that medal that we saw from earlier? We clearly have video evidence that during a crucial firefight, he decided to stop and record a video message to his family instead of focusing on helping his fellow soldier. This is so stupid. This is beyond stupid. And then, Silent fucking Night. The audience here, they're gonna applaud and sing the snot-nosed little brat and his friend's destruction of a play that everyone took a lot of time in order to rehearse, set up, and perform, all so he could show off his dad's death on camera. This is appalling and grotesque, and not remotely worth the money that was spent producing this pile of garbage. The man-hours that went into shooting this scene alone should have been donated to a charitable cause instead of wasting on this ridiculous-ass flick. And then we close exactly as we opened, with another long-winded Ronald Reagan quote that is not only read aloud to us like the second graders leapfrog software, but is even less in connection with the rest of the film than the first quote was. So in conclusion, Last Ounce of Courage has the distinction of not only being the worst films I've seen in my entire life, but the worst Christmas film of all time. The shoddy production design is amateur, hindering on even less than amateur at times. The editing is paced like a kindergartner just got a copy of Final Cut Pro, and the writing is blander than a piece of tofu seasoned with shredded paper. The film is so poorly put together that it hurts. The characters are introduced occasionally without any so much as once telling us beforehand who they were or how they fit into the whole story. The writing was abysmal, the plot made no sense, and never had any resolutions or lessons learned by any of the characters. Not once did it ever feel like whoever was writing this had any formal training in crafting a story. After watching the movie, I decided to do a little research on its production company, Hellfighter Productions. It turns out that they're exactly what you might expect. A ministry of motorcycle riding Christians who preach about Jesus and all that stuff while riding motorcycles. And that's fine. I mean, they seem like okay guys who probably do a lot of charitable work and stuff like that. I have nothing against them personally. But it's very clear that making movies is not their strong suit, especially considering when you look at their website, this is the only one that they've made in almost 4 years of technically making movies. Probably for the best. And by the way, the best blurb that you could think of to add to your DVD cover is "It's about freedom"? Guys, that's not the review blurb. That's just the plot synopsis. You can't tell me that this was the best quote you could find to put on the cover. This movie is a Christian revenge film. It's about the mean old atheists and their secularism trying to destroy Christmas once and for all. There's not a shred of originality, as most of this is blatantly ripped off from a Bill O'Reilly talk piece. Which, ironically, he's actually in the movie through archival footage, so if you're ever wondering whose side the producers were actually on this whole time, well, now you know. This is lazy. And worse, it's downright offensive at the end. It claims to be a Christmas movie, and then there wasn't even one time that a character, frolicked around in the snow. I know that's not, a requirement of Christmas movies, but I don't know, I feel like something a little happier than this could have been done. The one thing that they seem to really want to get upset about, the nativity scene and the manger stuff, they never actually have the balls to show. And that's because they trip themselves up in their own dialogue. They say it themselves, if you want to put up a nativity, you gotta show respect to every other religion equally. And frankly, I don't see these filmmakers ever wanting to even ask the set designers to look at a moon and star or the Star of David. Oh, and before we say final words, I'd like to mention that the founder of Hellfighters and the writer and producer of both the book and movie Last Ounce of Courage actually plays a bit part in the movie. The IMDb page has him credited as an angel, but on both watch-throughs I did of this film, I assumed he was either supposed to be God or Jesus. I mean, maybe it just wasn't conveyed very well, I don't know, maybe it was just me. But basically, this character implies and literally tells Bob that he did the right thing. And then he gives him a magic radio in a jail cell so that he too can relive the tragedy that was his own son's death by hearing his grandson pipe it in front of a literal captive audience. I guess there was one Christmas miracle in that he had a magical radio that showed him all of the things that hurt him. This movie pushes the most superficial things about Christmas to the forefront, but claims they're not important. They claim that they're not allowed to put up decorations, but then only ever put up the ones that are not even remotely offensive, or worse, never were offensive. Look, despite anything Kirk Cameron might say while he saves Christmas, the Christmas tree is more of a pagan icon than it is anything, and putting it up is actually more inclusive considering it just represents the winter solstice, which is an event that we all experience no matter what. There's not much else I can say about this film other than it really was the worst Christmas movie of all time. If you're compiling a list of stuff like that, I highly suggest that this go at the top or bottom depending on how you're ordering it, because this is clearly one for the ages. Oh, and it's officially approved by Chuck Norris, which is just a gold seal of quality right there. So with that, I close out my Christmas spectacular at maybe about a half an hour in length. I'm glad it lasted that long. I want to wish you all a very happy holiday, whether you're finished celebrating Hanukkah a few weeks ago, or you're celebrating Christmas today, or Kwanzaa tomorrow. Whether you celebrate or don't celebrate, have a happy one filled with joy and kindness. I'd like to thank all of you who've been here this year. In like the last couple of months, I've jumped up 500 some subscribers, which, while slow considering some of the bigger YouTubers, is still an amazing feat for me. So thank you so much for that. It's probably the greatest gift I could have received this year. Have a wonderful time this holiday season, and may your day be jolly. I wish you the merriest of Christmases today, and the happiest of New Year's in the coming week. As always, I will be back in 2016 sometime next month with a new review of something even more awful, because, let's face it, there are a lot of shitty movies out there, and I cannot wait to dive in. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever. Have a wonderful evening. And I wish you only the best as we approach the new year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.